Hi there, I've gone live a little bit early just because I'm working from home and wanted to see and double check that I've got things all set up ready to go so that when I hit live I've got the page up and going and ready. And I'm going to fiddle for a moment because I forgot to pack my tripod to bring that home. So anyway, I think we're all live and people are, I think it takes about a minute or so before people get the message on Facebook to say that it's gone live and that we're doing the question time now, part 3, yay! I've decided that the theme for this evening, I thought I would offer out a theme and then we can kind of go from there. And as per the previous couple of question times, hello first viewer, say hi, let me know who you are, and post any questions that you have or want to ask. And that's kind of how the format for this evening goes, is that as people will come on, it's kind of a little bit like people arriving at the party, is that I've got the theme, as I say, which is about how to be confident without being arrogant. And so I'm going to kind of share some questions really that people have been asking me about, which are kind of themed around that topic. And of course then the live questions that you've got that you want answered, then just pop on here and get them answered. And I'll do my best to keep it flowing. And the whole point of the confidence question time is for me to show up, for me to be a resource for you. And when you're ready and you want your questions answered, then you can hit the like button, you can hit the love button, that sounds wrong, hit the love button, and post your questions. And as I say, the whole point is to make this a resource, building up a resource, both on the Jules Wyman Confidence Garden page on Facebook, but also just a resource that people can share, people can go back to, people can recognize that it's there, because confidence is such a huge topic, and it's something that I've been studying now for probably about 10 or 11, if not 12 years. And unconsciously been looking at for more than 10 years, more than 1 decade. I'm sure it's been a big part of my life for a long time, but I just hadn't realised, and I hadn't realised what it was, how to get it, how I could access it. I genuinely thought it was something that other people had. I must have been off school that day when they were dishing it out. Now, I know that some of my school friends, when I share that information with them, kind of go, what? You had loads of confidence. You were doing school plays, you were doing concerts, you were up there and sang. And yeah, I may have pretended very well. And I learned ways of coping. I learned ways of coping and getting by, really. But what I then realised was I was constantly creating these characters, these performers that got me by on a day-to-day basis. And whilst they may have got me by, they didn't actually provide me with an inner confidence, she says, can't speak, an inner confidence, so that I genuinely felt comfortable, good, relaxed, calm, and happy with myself, basically. So those of you who have just joined, please do like, love, do the teary thing if you want to, but say hi, even if you so I can give you a shout out to say thank you for joining. Even if you haven't got a question and you just want to just listen in, that's absolutely fine. That's the whole point is, as I've said, is this is being a resource for you to be able to access, get some more information, whether it's specifically for you about your own confidence or whether it's for somebody else, so that you can share it with them, point them to that. If you've not come across the work that I do, then you can go to my webpage, which is juleswyman.com, and on there you will find a load of free stuff. Basically, there's the 7 keys of confidence, there are a load more videos, there are blogs, you can sign up for my mailing list on there, and people on the mailing list get exclusive little stories and insights and shares from my world as a coach, and from just my life and my journey, really. So the theme this evening is how to be confident without being arrogant. And to clarify both of those things, I kind of need to give you some background as to what both of those things are. Cheers. Yes, my cup is nearly as big as my head. So let's start with arrogance and what a lot of people perceive arrogance and what arrogance is, in my view. Arrogance really is it's behaviors that we do. I think it's a way of covering up various things. And usually it's about covering up when we don't feel great about ourselves, when we don't feel comfortable, we may be feeling insecure or having our buttons pushed or having our confidence knocked. We might talk about it in that way. But basically we're not necessarily feeling great. So because we're not feeling great, we tend to find ways of dealing with that and covering it up. And sometimes those behaviours that we can do can seem like we are being arrogant. And that arrogance, when I've asked hundreds of people about this now, and the same things come up over and over again. It's when we talk too much, or when we interrupt other people, or we do that, I know, yeah, I know, yeah, I've got the answer to that, yeah. That kind of dismissive way of I was going to say connecting with other people, but it's a disconnect with other people. The kind of person who takes up a lot of space, and that could be physically, that could be with themselves, that could be with their stuff. It could be that they do that vocally, they could do that energetically, they don't have to physically take up all of that space. They're the kind of people who have an opinion, want their opinion to be heard, and they will do everything to make sure their opinion is heard, no matter who else is in the room. They can be really talkative, but equally they can be quite aloof and dismissive of other people. Thank you for the likes, people. They can be quite dismissive of people too. And don't be disillusioned that thinking that arrogant behaviours is just about that loudness, that brash, the person who talks over everyone, the person who's always got to be heard and have their opinion heard. Their behaviours can be quite aloof. They might ignore people as well. So there are a number of behaviours that are associated around arrogance. But I think it's really important to recognise that these are behaviours. The person is doing behaviours. They are not arrogant. They are doing arrogant behaviours. And I think why I emphasise that and why I believe that's so important is because I can certainly raise my hand and say that there are times when I've interrupted people, spoken over people, done the I know, I know, it's where I can do the face so well, I know. And we may not even do that outwardly, we may be doing it internally, and then we kind of interrupt them and kind of go, well, I've got what you're saying now, this is what you mean, so just get on with it. And I know that from talking to clients, talking to delegates in workshops, I know that these are behaviours that so many of us do. So don't beat yourself up about it, but have the awareness and the trust and the understanding for yourself that these behaviours are triggered unconsciously for us by something that's going on in the background, and we may not be aware of what that is. So, for example, I know for me, I can only speak from my own perspective on this, but I know for me that whenever I felt uncomfortable, I would make myself vocally a lot louder. I would also kind of talk over other people, because I thought if I can keep talking, then no one's going to ask me any questions that I'm not going to know the answer to. So therefore I just keep talking and keep talking and keep talking and try to be the funny one, and because I wanted to be liked. And there was a lot of efforting, there was a lot of, it wasn't a relaxed state to be in, and a lot of arrogant behaviours, when you start to notice them, there's a lot of tension being held, and it could be really subtle, but you know, it can show up in your jaw, could show up in your neck or your shoulders, can show up in your fists, it can show up in all sorts of ways. this tension around the behaviour that is happening, and that's because there is a incongruence between the behaviour on the outside. Yeah, everything's fine, I've got it, I know everything, versus what's going on the inside, which is the, oh, holy crap, don't anybody find out. And you've got those two things that they're pulling in the opposite direction, because they're not in alignment, they're not connected with each other. So the first thing to be aware of when people get worried about becoming arrogant, when they want to develop their own confidence, is they're worried about being arrogant. So be mindful, be aware of doing those behaviours. Are you talking for the sake of talking? Are you interrupting people? Are you doing that, I'm just waiting for her to shut up so that I can put in my two penneth? Are you overlapping? Are you being opinionated to the point of you really want to make sure that you get heard and are dismissing other people? Are you either outwardly or inwardly doing the, I know, yeah, I've got it. Those kinds of things. Now, the key with this, and the key, I believe, with pretty much all of your confidence development, growth, building, boosting, whatever the right word is for you, is about kindness. When you notice that you're doing these behaviours, these arrogant behaviours, just notice and then do something different. And that could be, so for me, I know that when I felt insecure, when I felt uncomfortable, I would just talk. So for me, I was like, when I became aware that I was talking a lot, I would naturally just find a place to stop and ask somebody a question if need be, or even just go silent and leave the space for other people to talk. And I started to notice that the world didn't cave in. No one started pointing fingers and going, oh, you must be insecure. And actually, it helped me start to feel, not immediately, but I began to relax and just be even more comfortable with myself, and therefore then the people around me and the situations in that sense. So it made things a lot easier. She says feeling comfortable and then shifting her clothing. Very interesting. See, we have all these different things going on unconsciously we're not aware of. And partly where Facebook Live is concerned is because I can see myself, and so I'm trying to talk to the camera and not myself, and all of those different things. Anyway, so arrogance, you need to be very, very clear that arrogance a lot of the time, is a behaviour. And there's a fantastic quote which is, arrogance is the son of insecurity. So if we use that as our framework of arrogance being the son of insecurity. So if that's the case, then if I'm going to stick with it the way that I would then say, well, confidence then must be the son or daughter of security. So insecurities aren't bad. They're there to help us be aware of we're feeling uncomfortable. Now, those feelings of discomfort that we're experiencing, they're going to be coming from thoughts, because emotions come from thoughts. And I'll talk about that in another video if that's required. But our thoughts are what guide our emotions. So we can become aware of how we're creating that sense of insecurity for ourselves. I'm never going to get this, they won't like me, I'm bound to get it wrong, people are going to judge me, whatever it may be. Then we can start to address things in a slightly different way. So the key with being confident rather than being arrogant is to recognise they're two very different things. And that's when you can start to develop yourself in a different way. So for those of you that are dipping in and out live, can you just let me know whether that makes sense? Whether you've got any more questions about that. You might just want to say hi. And I'll give you a moment to do that. You might be frantically typing your question in. Don't know why I went onto an old typewriter for some reason then. So that was the first thing that I kind of wanted to talk about so that we could get clear on what that is. And then the second thing I really wanted to look at was, I got asked this question the other day, which kind of, I believe, ties in, which was, this is exactly how it was phrased, how do you walk the line of being yourself and not being boastful? Now, I find this very interesting and an interesting topic, because culturally, we're all coming from different angles where we perceive somebody as being boastful. So it's not an easy, straightforward one to answer from that perspective. I know I'm going to speak very generally here, but from that generalisation, I know that many British, specifically English people, may perceive Americans as being boastful, because Americans have no problems with saying, yeah, I can do this, I got it, this is what I've achieved, etc., etc. But from their environment, they find our self-deprecation, which we think is endearing and, we're just being modest. They don't perceive that as a strength. So, and they don't see it in that way. They kind of don't get it. So from a cultural perspective, we have to start to look at where are we coming from that boastful point, because we can't talk in a broadband perspective of it. We can't look at it from that sense. We have to understand it from the sense of what's being boastful for us. So for me, boastful really is about when we're exaggerating. And there is, from a neurological perspective, neuroscience, thank you for the thumbs up, neuroscience is highlighting the power of language, the power of the words, and more specifically how when we exaggerate, it impacts our brains to the point, I'm going to speak in a very simplistic term for me, which is it's kind of weakening. It's not a supportive way to be, and it's even then tying in with our reptilian brain, our amygdala, with the fight or flight side of things. So therefore that's making it really uncomfortable again as well. So what we need to do is be mindful for ourselves. Are we exaggerating? And if we are exaggerating, how and where are we exaggerating? What are we doing for that exaggeration? So, say for example, you go for a job interview, and during that job interview you get asked a question, and rather than saying that you did 50 of whatever, all of a sudden it becomes I did 150, and you're starting to exaggerate, and yes, I did the whole thing, and internally there's that part of you that's going into, I know I'm not telling the truth here. Right? It's kind of like this little siren that kicks off of saying, I'm not telling the truth. But then there's this other part that's going, yeah, but I can't tell them the truth, because if I tell them the truth, then they may not think I'm as good as. So we get caught in these two worlds of where we think we should be and where things actually are, and they pull in the opposite direction, which again is going to cause that tension. And when you're causing tension for yourself, it's going to impact how you communicate. And that's when we can start to feel that we are being boastful, or we are exaggerating, or we are making it up or embellishing. Use whatever words you would normally use. So when this person said to me, how do you walk the line of being yourself and not being boastful, is I actually asked her back, when you are being boastful, are you being yourself? And her immediate answer was no. And I said, well, there's your key. There's the key to it, is don't boast. If you want to be yourself, then recognize that you need to be truthful. And sometimes that truthfulness may not be saying anything. It may be keeping it close to your hand. It may be giving yourself the opportunity to maybe take the environment in rather than jump into it. So it's a self-check-in with how can you be yourself and not be boastful, not slip over into the world of arrogance, is actually start to become aware of the behaviours that you are doing in order to be able to check in with those. So be really honest for yourself, be really truthful for yourself where that's concerned, because that's going to help you. And then to wrap all of this up, I want to flag up again that the key with all of this, the understanding with all of this, is when you notice yourself being boastful or exaggerating or even doing any of those arrogant behaviours, which we can all do at times, is be kind. Notice that you're doing them, be kind. And my offering to you, my suggestion, my invitation would be initially just take a deep breath and choose something different. Choose something that is far more truthful, far more in alignment with yourself, and you will know that for yourself, because you'll feel it on the inside. You even if you just notice the tension, or if you notice the you'll notice the tension, you'll notice the discomfort that's going on for yourself. So if that's the case, then just be aware of it and choose something different. Now, I am just going to have a look at something, because I've just been sent a message from somebody who's saying that they have been posting questions and yet I haven't been seeing them. So let me just have a little look-see what's going on here, and if I can access it and find out what those questions are. Oops. So I'll just take another sip of my tea from my extremely large mug. Actually, let me see if I can access it this way, because of course one way isn't enough. Let me have a look. So yes, there are some messages popping up. So I think people are having challenges with their internet, which makes a change from it being mine. So it's usually mine that's dipping in and out, so that's quite nice. That it's Thank you, Sarah. I've just got your message to say that you're having trouble with your internet connection. So you're going to wait to watch the recording. So that's a really good move. And I know that with many people, they like to watch the recording back and then look at how they can implement what's being said, what I'm sharing. And I really do welcome the questions coming in and giving me the opportunity to theme it up so that I can let people know. Now, in a couple of weeks' time, which is the next one, the next question time, confidence question time, is I'm actually going to do a whole week, and I'm going to start on the 4th of July. So it's Confidence in Independence Day. And I'm going to do the whole week, and every single day at midday. So be mindful, I will put put a little flag up, but every day at 12 o'clock UK, I'm going to do a video, a live broadcast, to share with you a little bit more in depth the 7 keys of confidence, which you can access on my webpage, which is juleswyman.com. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each of the keys, take one a day, and I will do about 10 minutes or so as to my view, what the key is about, how you can use the key to actually implement and build your own confidence. So you can have a whole week of doing that for yourselves. Now, obviously, then if you want to ask questions, if you want to chuck in your thoughts, if you've already used them and been using them, then you can come on over and make sure that you access that and do that. And as I say, every day from the 4th to the 10th of July, I'm going to do 12 o'clock UK, midday, 12 o'clock, midday, UK, just said that a number of times. Just going to do that and go through each one of the keys a day. So it gives you a chance to access it, ask any questions that you want to, and then we can see where we go from there. So that's when the next confidence question time will be. Now keep an eye open for on this page, because I've started to do some little impromptu ones at various points, and what I would love to know from yourself is, as well as the regular confidence question time that I'm doing, I would love to know what time works best for you, what time of day works best for you to be able to engage with these. Do you prefer to do it live? Do you prefer to look at the recordings? Either way, I would absolutely love to know. I'm committed to doing this because I am a dedicated follower of confidence, and more importantly, I get really upset, if I'm absolutely truthful, I get really upset with how many people I interact with who are struggling, who are finding life really tough and getting through on a day-to-day basis hard work. And life doesn't have to be that way. Life, I don't believe, is meant to be that way. You know, unless a child is born with some kind of illness or ill health, pretty much every baby is born smiling, is, they're happy, other than the fact that when they want their nappies changed or some food or a cuddle, all children, we were all born feeling good about ourselves, and stuff's happened along the way, and that's why so many people are feeling uncomfortable. They're worried about becoming arrogant. They're worried about not feeling good about themselves. And I want to do everything I can to help people recognise that it just doesn't have to be that way. So make sure that you get your questions in. Thank you for those of you who have been liking the video and been sending me some private messages. I will look over the questions and include them all. If I can include them in the 7 keys of confidence, then I will do, and if not, I will bank them and use them at another question time. But do keep them coming, and thank you for joining me this evening, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon. In the meantime, please remember, believe in yourself, because your life does depend on it.